Hey, we are here again. Wow. Okay, in this stream, what I want to focus on is how to shift your energy. And by that, I mean we all have a choice. We can choose the energy of being happy, we can choose the energy of being sad, we can choose the energy of being grateful, or we can choose the energy of being angry, mad, and just PO'd at the world and the rest of humanity. It's all a conscious choice that we can make. Problem is, many people don't realize that they have a choice. And there are some circumstances in life that can really get the better of us and can really bring us down. Significant loss. You get fired from your job. Yeah, I don't care if you're Mr. or Mrs. Positive, happy and laughing all the time. You walk into the office, you get fired unexpectedly from your job. That is the downer. But you can compensate for that. You can overcome that. Another circumstance that a lot of people may feel powerless about is the death of a loved one, the death of somebody close to you. And that can really hit you hard, harder than losing a job for sure. But believe it or not, you can actually compensate for that. You can make a choice. Instead of feeling sad and depressed over the loss, you can actually feel grateful that you knew the person. Be grateful that you had the experience of having that person in your life for as long as you did. You just have to develop the mental conditioning, the mental attitude and discipline that you realize things are temporary. In this material world, all things must pass. One of the most moving things musically, growing up, I was a Beatles fan. I'm still a Beatles fan. And one beautiful interview that George Harrison gave is that he had been diagnosed with cancer. He knew that his time was limited. And he went on to this radio show. And I saw a recording of this, a video recording of it. And the guy that was interviewing him was asking him, play something for us, George. Play us one of your songs. And George picked up his guitar, knowing that he had been diagnosed with cancer, knowing that his time on this world was limited. And he just started strumming his guitar, began singing the song, "All Things Must Pass. All things must pass away." And I thought, at that time, at that place, knowing what he knew about his physical condition, it was very powerful. It's very moving. Even seeing just later rebroadcasts of that interview. But I mean, he had that knowledge. He had that understanding that we live in a material world which is transitory. All things must pass. All things fade away. All things pass away. And if you try to hang on to things, you try to hang on to people and situations, it's like you're just setting yourself up for suffering, because everyone passes. All things, all people pass in the material world. The good news is that if you believe in a spiritual side to everything, if you believe in the permanence of the spiritual world, then okay, my loved one died. They have passed away physically, but spiritually, they still live. They're in a better place. And you can choose to be grateful for having had the experience to know that person in the material world. And if you ever develop to the spiritual level to where you begin to make contact with spiritual entities and be able to have contact with folks that have passed beyond the veil, then you know darn good and well that the soul exists. It persists. It does not die. And I mean, it just takes a level of understanding and discipline to be able to get to that point to where you know that, yeah, all things pass in the material world, but there's a spiritual side to things that allows you the freedom to be able to see, the spiritual side of things, be able to see from the temporary and the temporal to the spiritual and the eternal. One old guy, when I was a minister in a brick and mortar Christian church, one old guy that really impressed me was a guy who was getting close to being on the deathbed himself. And he was married to his second wife. And he was sharing with me the experience that he went through when he lost his first wife. His first wife had died of cancer. And in the beginning, he was devastated because they were very much in love. His first wife was an artist. She did paintings. And she died of cancer. He was devastated. And he was sitting at their home, angry at God for taking her, angry at the world, just staring at her artwork that she had done. And he was crying, he was angry, he was PO'd, and he couldn't sleep. He just stayed up all night in his anger, in his sorrow, in a fit of depression. And he was screaming at God, "Why did you take her from me? Why?" And he shared that. I mean, it's just a very strong feeling of anger at God for taking his wife away. And then he began to cry. And then he shared something with me. He said, "You know what, Pastor? As I was beginning to cry, I walked out of the living room. I opened up the front door. And I could see I'd been up all night long, just bitter and angry, and then crying. And then he saw the sunrise. And he saw how beautiful the sunrise was. And he said, at that time, this may sound crazy, but at that time, it began to make sense of why my wife left me. And it did. Even now, kind of remembering this story, it sounds kind of crazy. But he looked at that beautiful sunrise and he could say, "You know what? My wife was an artist. She had painted sunrises like that. But this sunrise was more beautiful than any other sunrise that he had seen." And he made sense out of the whole experience by thinking to himself, that is why God took my wife from me. It was her time to move on to a better place where she could participate in being more than just an artist that was able to paint paintings on canvas, on a silk screen or a canvas screen. She was now up there with God, working with God, helping God paint pictures like that in our 3D reality. And he said, yeah, he finally could understand. His wife was gone in the material sense, but when he saw that sunrise and the beauty of that sunrise, it's like he knew his wife was still with him in a spiritual sense. And the way he made sense out of that is that, yeah, God needed help making a beautiful sunrise. And with his wife being up there with God, that was the help that God needed. So, yeah, it sounds kind of crazy, even kind of recounting it. But the bottom line is that when this guy saw that sunrise, he no longer felt disconnected from his wife. He felt that she was still there somehow in that sunrise. The sunrises that she had painted, using oil paints in canvas. He could see her now in that sunrise that he was witnessing in 3D reality in his life. And that, to me, was just a beautiful testament to the power of faith, the power of belief that this temporary human life is not all that there is, and that you can take even a devastating blow, a devastating, gut punch of losing somebody that you love, and be able to translate that into something beautiful, something that makes sense. And it's like there are other stories I could tell that really get kind of out there. But I think you get the point that we can choose to shift our energy from happy to sad just by focusing our mind on things that are happy or sad. It's like when I first started doing this live stream, it's like, okay, I'm kind of neutral. I'm happy to be here, happy to share my experiences. But then what I noticed is as I was beginning to share that experience of what that man told me, he's gone now. He's been gone for years. He's off in the spiritual realm himself with both of his wives now. But, when I first started telling that story, it's like, yeah, I could feel that sadness. My energy shifted from being happy to being a little sad. And now that I've gotten to the good part of the story, it's like, okay, I feel happy again. But you know what? I could consciously shift my energy just through my own thoughts, through my own mind. We all have this ability. The great mistake so many people make is they think it's up to other people to make them happy. It's like a lot of people will get married, and why do they get married? It's because this person makes me happy. And I want to be married to this person because they make me happy. It's like that's their job description. I married you to make me happy, so make me happy, damn it. And it sounds crazy when you talk about it that way, but subconsciously, a lot of people have this belief. It's not my responsibility to make me happy. It's your responsibility. You're my friend, you're my spouse, you're my significant other. You need to make me happy. So do your job, damn it. Make me happy. But you know what? It's not other people's job. It's not other people's responsibility to make us happy. That's your responsibility. That's my responsibility. A famous entrepreneur that I love reading quotes from, Sir Richard Branson. He had a quote once that impressed me several years ago. But the quote was, a lot of people assume that I am happy because I am successful. And he said, actually, that's not the case. I'd like to believe that I am successful because I am happy. And to me, that was kind of challenging because when I first read that, I was thinking along the lines, that a lot of other people think along, is that circumstances in life make you happy. It's circumstances in life that make you happy or sad. Circumstances that a lot of times we think of being as out of our control. And yeah, if you're successful, naturally you're going to be happy. If you're not successful, then naturally you are going to be sad. But is that really the case? Can you choose to be happy? Can you choose happiness no matter what? And then allow that energy of happiness, that energy of positivity to propel you into success. And I believe that's the case. We can choose to be happy no matter what our circumstances are. And then when we operate from the energy of happiness, we can begin to attract other people around us that are attracted to that energy of happiness. And we can be more successful doing business with people like that, networking with people like that. When we look at life from a positive point of view, we can actually open doors that would normally otherwise never be open to us. I had an experience that this is still an evolving type situation. in my life as a home-based entrepreneur. But I've got this one guy now that has been actually after me for a couple of weeks. And he is a $1 million earner. He's got his own network that he's building, where he's wanting other entrepreneurs to come in and do networking. And he networks with other $1 million earners. And he's been after me to join his network for about 2 weeks now, maybe a little bit longer. And I felt my own inner attitude was, okay, this is a $1 million earner who is networking with other $1 million earners. He wants me to join his network. So obviously, he's got no clue who I am because I'm not a $1 million earner. But he's been after me for a while now. And it just came into my head the other night. I got another communication from him. And I thought, I've been doing these live streams on Facebook, been doing these live streams on LinkedIn. And it just came into my subconscious that obviously there's something that this guy sees in me that he likes. And who am I to say that I am not a good fit for his network? And so previously, where previously I would have closed the door and just said, look, this isn't my thing. I'm really not into this sort of thing. I'm not a $1 million earner. I don't fit here. And so I'm just going to slam the door on this opportunity. Previously, the way I used to think, I would be doing that. But now I've kind of grown to the point where I'm starting to think, okay, this guy sees something in me. So obviously he wants me to join his network for a reason. Maybe I should chat with him, talk with him, and find out, okay, clarify. What is this network? What do you see in me? What do you think I can bring to your network? And then, maybe we can talk. Maybe we can strike a deal. Maybe there is something that he sees in me that I do not yet fully see in myself. And so now, rather than slamming that door closed, thinking that it's not for me, I'm not a good fit, blah, 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 to Mr. Skeptical here, what does this guy see in me? I'm now responding and saying, well, yeah, let's talk. And we have an appointment. We're going to be talking this Thursday afternoon. And yeah, we'll find out. Is this the golden opportunity of a lifetime that might be opening up? It could be. It could very well be. It could be opening the door to me, a simple, 5-figure earner working from home, hoping to become a 6-figure earner. This could be my golden opportunity to be opening the door to networking with a wider variety of people, a whole new level of clientele that I previously thought was closed off to me, foolishly. But if I didn't have that energy of curiosity, that energy of openness, which I did not have just a couple years ago, I would be slamming the door on this guy right now, like I would have 2 or 3 years ago. But you know what? I've grown up a little bit. I've begun to realize there's more to me than even I see in myself. And maybe there is some value that I can bring to these $1 million earners that I'm kind of unaware of even now as I'm talking with you. But it did come to my awareness. Yeah, this guy's been kind of following me on Facebook. We've been communicating back and forth in different groups. I think he is aware of my live streams that I've been doing. And yeah, there is something that he sees in me that he wants to bring to his network. And who am I really to say, no, I'm not the right fit for you? If he thinks I'm the right fit, then I'm going to trust his judgment. And we'll see where all this goes. But yeah, this Thursday, bound to be interesting. I think it's bound to be very interesting. Should be an eye-opener for me, if not for him, maybe for both of us. But yeah, if you have the energy of curiosity, if you got the basic energy of positivity, you're going to be opening doors instead of slamming them shut. The problem that so many of us have is that we get locked into a negative mindset and we think, well, that's just the way I'm wired, right? That's the way I am. I cannot change, so I'm not going to change, and nobody's going to change me. And you can be going through the rest of your life just slamming doors on opportunities that could potentially be life changing opportunities. But if you learn how to make that shift mentally away from disappointment to gratitude, away from fear and uncertainty to love and hopefulness, from being bitter to being just an average Joe, you've got the ability to shift your energy from one extreme to another extreme, or at least find some ground in the middle where you can be more productive at. And there are different ways that you can do this. The first way that you can do this, really the beginning, is to just be aware that you have the power to shift your emotional energy. If you are sad, if you are crying right now, we all need time to grieve. Yes, especially if you've suffered the loss of a loved one, or at the very minimum, the loss of a pet. Yeah, you need time to grieve. But after you've had your grieving, you can choose to either continue to be depressed or shift your energy. Now, I am aware there are people that suffer from clinical depression. And there, for people like that, it's not as easy as, I would like it to be. My dad suffered from clinical depression. He was on medication for that, which he took for the rest of his life. But I mean, there are folks like that. But for other folks that are not clinically depressed, we can all get depressed, we can become sad, but over time we can learn how to shift our energy without drugs. And one way that I have found is that, first of all, become aware that for me, this is a conscious choice that I can make. Wayne Dyer would say, you can have a good attitude, you can have a bad attitude. Choose your attitude. It's up to you. It's your choice. And, I agree with that 100%. For those of us that do not suffer from clinical depression, who do not require medication to adjust our attitudes, then yeah, we can make that attitude adjustment just mentally. But, one way that we can do that is through meditation. The other way that we can do that is by just making ourselves aware that we have a choice. But yeah, first become aware that you got a choice in the whole matter, and then focus your mind in meditation instead of ruminating on the things that upset you. Focus on your breath. Focus on communing with the spiritual world as you understand the world of spirit, and become aware that you are not alone in this universe, that there are other powers, other entities out there that you can work with, that you can commune with, and open yourself up to, that could really have the power to help you shift your energy. Another way that I do this is through mantra meditation or japa meditation. I've got a string of beads here, 108 plus beads on this string. I made this little bead, rosary type bead thing myself. But what I found is, if I need to shift my energy, if I wake up in a bad mood, I can come up with a mantra all on my own that is just me telling myself, I am great and I'm going to have an awesome day. And I may not believe that when I start off on the first bead, but by the time I get to like the 20th bead, I'm starting to feel that energy, because I'm just repeating that mantra over and over and over again to myself, that what, I am a good person. I'm going to make this an awesome day. And by the time I get all the way around to about 108 plus beats, I am feeling that vibration in me. And it takes me about 20 minutes to get to this point of just repeating the same mantra or affirmation over and over again. But yeah, by the time I get to about 108 repetitions, by the time I've spent about 15 or 20 minutes into the practice, I am really getting into it, and I am able to put this little string of beads down with the knowledge that, yeah, I have just shifted my energy. I've gone from feeling blah or sad or ho hum to the feeling that, yeah, I am a good person. I am going to make this a great day. I've got the power. I am not all alone in the universe. And by God, we are going to make it a great day. And I've got that attitude that it is going to be a great day because I'm choosing to make it a great day. Some of the best social media influencers that I listen to, that's how they end their podcast. It's like, make it a great day. It's not like, gee, I hope you have a good day. It's like, you need to make it a great day. That is your choice. And circumstances can't rob you of that choice. Yeah, some circumstances can really give us a gut punch unexpectedly, knock the wind out of us, make us feel, lousy for a little while, depending upon the severity of the gut punch, the severity of the shock. But you know what? You can choose to look at the positive side of things as quickly as you would like. You can choose to be like that man who lost his wife, and 24 hours later, he was looking at a sunrise, and instead of crying in despair, he was crying with joy because he realized his wife, somehow his late wife, was with him in that sunrise. She was no longer separated from him in death. She was there with him in life, in that beautiful sunrise. You can choose to be like George Harrison, dying of cancer, appearing on a recorded interview, for a radio show, and be asked by the guy, hey, what are you going to play for us today, George? And just kind of meditate on your own mortality and be singing a song like All Things Must Pass, and be just basically telling yourself and telling the rest of the world, all things must pass. Yeah, I'm dying right now. I know it. You know it. I'm not going to let that bring me down. I'm just going to roll with this for however long it takes, and for however long that I have left on this planet. I'm going to choose to live as happy a life as I can and as productive a life as I can. And I'm just going to roll with this for however long I've got, however long it takes. And I mean, that's just a beautiful mindset to be able to have, to be able to shift your energy away from that level of sadness to a level of acceptance, to a level of just being grateful that, I may not be here much longer, but you know what? I'm here now, and I'm going to choose to make the most of it. And I think that's the way we can look at a lot of things in life. Due to circumstances beyond my control, I may have lost my job. I may have lost a loved one. I may have lost something else of great value to me. But instead of ruminating on that loss, I'm going to choose to shift my energy through meditation or some other spiritual practice and choose happiness and gratitude rather than anger, bitterness, hatred, remorse, things like that. Yes, when we suffer a loss, we do have to mourn, and there is some positive energy in mourning things properly, but we can choose not to stay stuck in that mourning phase. We can choose to mourn for a while, accept the loss, and then move on into a positive world. We've all suffered disappointments. We've all suffered loss in some form. But you know what? We can put that experience behind us and choose to travel forward, enriched by that experience, enriched by the information, the knowledge that we've gained through knowing these people, through having had these experiences, and allow ourselves to move forward with the rest of our life rather than staying stuck in one area for an indefinite period of time just because we don't feel like moving ahead. I think when we've suffered loss, we owe it to ourselves to move forward in life. And when we've suffered a loss of a loved one, I think we owe it to them and to their memory to move forward with our lives. I think that's what they would want of us, to move forward rather than staying stuck in a sad, sad past. To take the good things from that past and move forward with it. Bring that energy of happiness and positivity forward into the future for ourselves and for others that we network with. So yeah, is it up to other people to make us happy? Is it up to other people to make us successful? No. Ultimately, I think those are choices that we have to make ourselves. We can choose happiness. It is a challenge. Sometimes it is a challenge. But once we accept the fact that we have the ability to shift our own energy, then we can learn how to shift that energy just by focusing. Taking our focus away from what's making us sad and focus on something that has the power to make us happy. And it can be something simple. Julie Andrews' song, when the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things. And suddenly I don't feel so bad. That is another way to shift your energy, just by remembering what makes you happy. Do you feel happy when you're cuddling a cat? I know I do. And even when I'm not cuddling a cat, I can bring that energy of happiness, that energy of love into my life by just closing my eyes and remembering that feeling of cuddling and holding that cat. And that's a feeling that no one can take away from me. I can just access that in my memory anytime I choose. I have that power. You have that power too. The only question is, are we going to develop the discipline to use that power and to use that power wisely? That's all for today's stream. This is Ralph signing out. We'll catch you later in upcoming streams. Bye-bye.